Good afternoon. Let me welcome those of you who have joined or are joining the webinar information session for Senate Bill 1221. Please review and use the accessibility information provided on the screen to set up your computer to maximize your settings so you have a positive experience today. One other note, the chat function has been disabled, but we will be using the Q&A feature to post information and links supporting the presentation and discussion, along with helping address any technical issues you may be struggling with in your MS Teams setup. We will begin the presentation promptly at 1:05. Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Chester Britt, and I will be serving as the moderator for SoCalGas on today's information session focused on Senate Bill 1221, Neighborhood Decarbonization Program Design. Before we get started with our presentation, we have a few housekeeping items to cover. I see that there's a lot of people that have joined the call, so I'm very excited to have you. But we want to make sure that you get the best experience today. As part of this MS Teams meeting, all microphones and video have been disabled until we reach the public comment period, at which time we will turn on individuals' audio so that you can speak. We do have language support options provided and instructions posted on the Q&A feature. So you should see the Q&A feature at the top of your bar. You can click on that and we will be posting some information and guidelines to help you out. We do have language support options provided and instructions. Live ASL is active on the screen. Want to make sure you notice that if you need that feature, and you can also maximize the size of that video. And language listening options are also available by selecting more language and speech and interpretation language. You can also enable live captions in the accessibility menu under more and then language and speech to show live captions. If you're having any issues with any of these options, you can also let us know via the Q&A feature where you can send us a chat. We will be providing links throughout the presentation on the Q&A that will be helpful in answering any technical questions. This information session is being recorded and will be posted publicly on SoCalGas's webpage within 5 days. In addition, a report will be developed summarizing today's session. All public comments will be summarized in this report and will be filed April 1st of 2026 in the CPUC Rulemaking 24-09-012. If you would rather make a written comment and not speak, this is a welcomed option, and you can easily access the docket of the CPUC Rulemaking 24-09-012. The link will be posted on the Q&A, and we will be taking verbal comments as part of this information session. If you plan to speak, you can use the raise your hand feature now, or when you decide to speak and get in the queue of speakers we will take after the presentation. So I want to now cover just briefly the agenda before turning it over to our presenters. The agenda for today's session is to review the objective of our time together, make sure that everyone understands why we're here, understand the Senate Bill 1221 background, review the fact sheet, discuss the initial priority neighborhood decarbonization zone designations, review the options for written public comment and webpage, understand how to assess the SB 1221 public maps, cover diversity, equity, and local considerations, and then take your public comments. Just a quick reminder again, today's call is being recorded. And for today's presentation, we do have two knowledgeable speakers from SoCalGas. We have Nate Taylor, who's the Director of Integrated Infrastructure Planning, and Jeff Danker, who is the Manager of Franchise, Fees, and Policy. I'm now going to turn it over to Nate, who will introduce himself and begin our discussion of SB 1221.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nate Taylor, and as Chester said, I'm the Director of Integrated Infrastructure Planning here at SoCalGas. My team and I are responsible for managing the long-term gas planning rulemaking proceeding underway in California, which includes Senate Bill 1221 implementation. I wanted to begin today's information session by providing some context for you all on why this meeting is taking place. First of all, SoCalGas is the local gas distribution company for most of the southern half of California. And if you're calling into today's session, you're most likely a SoCalGas customer. SoCalGas is regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC, or Commission, a state government agency who's responsible for, among other things, much of the implementation of Senate Bill or SB 1221. The CPUC has directed each of the 4 large gas utilities that it regulates to host an information session, as we are today, to provide some background information on SB 1221 and gather feedback from customers, communities, and other stakeholders to inform ongoing policy development related to SB 1221 implementation. In particular, the CPUC directed the gas utilities to host and record one virtual SB 1221 information session for government representatives, community organizations, and members of the public in their service territory between January 15th, 2026 and March 15th, 2026, to hear comments in support of or opposition to the designation of decarbonization zones in specific areas and solicit feedback on SB 1221's diversity and equity considerations. The Commission goes on to say, we encourage gas corporations to run the virtual information session similarly to the public participation hearings that occurred on August 7th, 2025, with a brief introduction and opportunities for public comment. Accordingly, the remainder of our brief presentation today is intended to provide sufficient background and context based on the current facts and settled policy of SB 1221 to encourage and inform relevant public comments as requested by the Commission. The majority of our time together today will be reserved for gathering these public comments. I want to spend a minute here providing a little bit of background on what SB 1221 is. So SB 1221 is a California law adopted in 2024, which creates a neighborhood decarbonization pilot program to explore the deployment of zero emission alternatives in lieu of local gas system replacement investments. For context, generally speaking, each of the gas utilities in California invests in the proactive replacement of certain gas distribution pipelines serving our customers to help reduce overall system risk. SB 1221 envisions a program whereby such planned replacement projects that could be unusually costly would be considered against these zero emission alternatives on a voluntary basis. These zero emission alternatives would provide impacted customers with a substitute energy service, such as appliance electrification, and allow for the gas pipeline infrastructure to be retired rather than replaced at a lower overall cost to gas ratepayers. On this slide, we've provided some of the key characteristics of SB 1221. On the left side, we explained that for this bill, there's a maximum of 30 projects allowed statewide. The projects are only allowed to impact a maximum of 1% of each utility's customer base. In order for a pilot project to move forward, it does require a minimum of 67% consent of impacted property owners. Projects may only occur in designated priority neighborhood decarbonization zones, which are the major topic for today's information session. Projects must be cost effective. And additionally, the specifics relating to how we will provide notification and seek consent, as well as other program design considerations, are pending additional CPUC rulemaking. So unfortunately, we won't be able to provide additional context or information on some of those key questions, but we look forward to being able to provide some of that information when the program is established later this year. On the right side of the slide, we wanted to provide a little bit of an outline of the actual statute related to SB 1221. So in PUC section 661, the state legislature issued a project mapping requirement whereby the gas utilities had to publish maps that included a roughly 10-year estimated plan for where pipeline replacement projects may occur. Those maps were published on July 1st of 2025. And then PUC section 662 discusses the designation of priority neighborhood decarbonization zones. That was assigned to the CPUC, and they were required to do that by January 1st of this year. They issued a final decision in December of 2025, designating the initial set of priority neighborhood decarbonization zones. Looking forward, PUC section 663 requires that the overall program is established by July 1st of this year. So again, some of those key programmatic details will be available at that time. And then lastly, PUC section 664 discusses ongoing reporting that will occur as the program proceeds. As part of the public communication around SB 1221 and in relation to this information session, the CPUC produced an SB 1221 fact sheet. That fact sheet is available at a link in the Q&A today. The link to this fact sheet is also available on the SoCalGas SB 1221 website if you'd like to review it at a later time. I did want to spend a minute highlighting that Public Utility Code section 662, which discusses the methodology by which the priority neighborhood decarbonization zones were initially designated and initially identified. So what the statute says is, in designating the zones, the commission, meaning the CPUC, shall consider factors that include, but are not limited to, all of the following. 1, presence of disadvantaged or low-income communities in high-temperature climate zones or low-temperature climate zones that disproportionately lack cooling or heating. 2, presence of environmental and social justice communities as defined in the Commission's Environmental and Social Justice Action Plan. 3, the availability of supportive local government or community partners. And 4, a concentration of gas distribution line replacement projects identified in the map submitted pursuant to Section 661. Again, those are the maps that we made available on July 1st of last year. The Commission did highlight that in their initial designation of the PNDZs, the Priority Neighborhood Decarbonization Zones that took place in December, that they did factor all of these items into, they did take all of these items into account, but in particular, they did focus on the last 2 items, the existence of local supportive governments and community partners, and the existence of a concentration of replacement projects. So what you see on your screen now is an actual statewide map of where these projects or where these priority neighborhood decarbonization zones exist. You can see that there's a cross section across the state. There's on the right side of the screen, you can see the statewide view. On the left side, on the bottom left, you can see a Southern California view, which really shows you where the zones exist in SoCalGas's service territory. On the very left side of this slide, there's a table that highlights where these zones exist by county. So you can see in SoCalGas's territory, there are 9 designated in Los Angeles County and 4 designated in Santa Barbara County. We wanted to spend a minute zooming in a little bit on those exact zones within SoCalGas's territory. So on the top row of images, you can see the zones in Los Angeles County, which exist in the city of Los Angeles, Southgate, Linwood, Maywood, Bell, Huntington Park, Vernon, and Santa Monica. And then as well, the 4 zones in Santa Barbara County, including in the cities of Santa Barbara and Galena, which are represented on the bottom row of maps. I did want to maybe make one more comment on the priority neighborhood decarbonization zones. It's important to reiterate that these are the areas where pilot projects may occur, but it does not necessarily mean that projects will occur in those areas. There are the additional considerations around cost effectiveness and consent that will weigh into where the final projects actually do occur. And again, the limitation of 30 projects statewide and a maximum of 1% of each utility's customer base being impacted. So these PNDZs are really the broad qualifier for where eligible projects may take place. I did want to spend a second walking people through how to access our webpage as well as the CPUC webpage if you're interested in submitting a comment directly, a written comment directly to the docket of the proceeding. So on the left side of this slide, you'll see a screenshot of the landing page for SoCalGas's Senate Bill 1221 webpage. There's a link in the Q&A chat for this meeting if you'd like to follow that. There's also a link to the public comment and proceeding details for R2409-012. And if you click on that link, it will take you to a landing page that looks like a screenshot on the right half of the slide. And you'll see there's a red oval circling the tab that says public comments. If you click through there, you will be able to add your public comment to the docket. So one more walkthrough here of SoCalGas's webpage. So again, if you click on our SB 1221 landing page, you will see a website that looks like the screenshot on the left. If you scroll all the way down to near the bottom of that page, there's a link which is circled in the sort of blue oval there on the left that says SB 1221 map. If you click on that link, it will open a pop-up. And if you agree to the disclaimer, it will take you to a mapping webpage that looks like the screenshot on the right side of the screen. You can then use this much like other mapping web pages. You can zoom in and select different features. On the left side of that screen, there is a layer list that you can toggle on and off. If you want to see the priority neighborhood decarbonization zones, you will need to go in and make sure that the foreseeable and potential gas distribution pipeline replacement overall layer is toggled on, and then the sub layer called priority neighborhood decarbonization zones is also toggled on. Once you zoom in sufficiently on the areas where those PNDZs are located, they will appear on the map. From here, I'd like to pass the presentation over to Jeff Danker to discuss some of the diversity and equity considerations for SB 1221.
Thank you, Nate. Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Danker, and I'm the manager of franchise, fees, and policy for SoCalGas. I am the lead contact for local governments, tribal organizations and governments, and community-based organizations for this program, and I'm a certified planner through the American Institute of Certified Planners. I'm excited to help lead the stakeholder engagement for this gas system planning OIR. I'm fortunate enough to have recent relevant experience leading our community engagement for SoCalGas's Climate Adaptation Vulnerability Assessment OIR, which is also exploring equity metrics and ways to assess community adaptive capacity. I'm also experienced with relevant stakeholder engagement through a CEC-funded research project that SoCalGas participated in, titled How to Select Strategic Pilot Sites to Decommission Portions of Natural Gas Infrastructure in Southern California, and helped facilitate public workshops as part of that research project. That report is available on RAND Corporation's website. We appreciate everyone joining us today and would like to hear your feedback. In addition to comments on specific neighborhood decarbonization zone locations, we are also interested in hearing your feedback on equity considerations, including, but not limited to, local environmental hazards, the ability of homes and small businesses in the community to access heating and/or cooling, health considerations, community barriers to decarbonization, and other diversity and equity considerations. Now, equity considerations in this context can be metrics or attributes that you think should be considered when either selecting, prioritizing, or avoiding deprioritizing a specific census tract or neighborhood or building as part of this proceeding. We are looking for input to help the CPUC target neighborhood decarbonization pilot projects where they will be most beneficial and cost-effective. And a friendly reminder that in addition to today's live comments, written comments can also be submitted to the CPUC docket. Now, I will kick it back to Chester, and thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Now we're going to be taking public comment. As a reminder, we will not be answering questions today. Instead, we're collecting your thoughts and questions to submit to the CPUC. Thank you to those who have already raised your hand to get in the queue. If you haven't done that and you would like to speak, please do that now. Once we call your name, we will unmute your microphone so that you can make your comment. So one thing here just to note, if you are planning to speak and have raised your hand, you can unmute your microphone now to just expedite the process. We cannot hear you until we unmute you on our side. So if you are going to speak and you've raised your hand, you should unmute your microphone. You will have 2 minutes to make your comment. There's a timer at the bottom corner of the screen that keeps track of time. I might just chime in around 10 seconds left just to remind you in case you're not focused on that. But we would ask that you be concise and think about making sure that you make your comments in the 2 minutes and make that productive for everyone participating, listening, and wanting to speak behind you. If you are speaking in another language other than English or using ASL, an interpreter will help you make your comment in English, and we will give you more time for your translation. So we will run the 2-minute timer twice, just to make sure that you have enough time to make your comment. If you're using your cell phone to participate and you're joined via the audio only connection, you will need to press *5 to raise your hand and then *6 to unmute yourself before you speak. So *5 will, on our side, we'll see your hand raised, and then when we call your name, *6 on your end to unmute yourself before you speak. When you make your comment, we ask that you first state your name, neighborhood or city, and any organization or affiliation if it's applicable. So that's a big part of the process. We want to make sure we document all of your comments. Please be respectful of the time. Don't use provocative language, and be concise so other speakers have the opportunity to speak. Some topics that are relevant for public comment include which neighborhoods should be considered for decarbonization zones. Very important to understand what you think about that. Input on local environmental hazards, access to heating and cooling, health considerations, community barriers to decarbonization. And then finally, input on diversity and equity considerations. You heard Jeff just discuss outlined in SB 1221. Comments we received today will be shared with the CPUC to inform them of rulemaking. And lastly, you always have the option to submit your comments in writing to the docket of the CPUC rulemaking at 2409-012. And this link is provided in the Q&A chat so that you have access to it. And it'll also be on the webpage where this recording will be hosted. So with that, I see a number of hands that have been raised. We're going to go ahead and get started. Again, remember to state your name, neighborhood and city, organization, and affiliation. We're going to go in the order that we received your hands being raised. And I apologize up front if I don't correctly pronounce your name, but I'm going to do my best. So the first person with their hand raised is Peg Hardiman. You should be able to unmute yourself and speak, I think. Go ahead, Peg. All right, Peg, are you there? All right, we're going to give you just a second, then we're going to move to the next one. You can always call back if something happens, and we'll put you back in the queue. All right, we're going to move forward with the next person I have, which is Pete Horacek. Pete, you should be able to speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can. Please state your
Okay,
name,
good.
neighborhood and city, and affiliation.
Yeah, my name is Pete Horacek. I live in Hemet, in Riverside County. I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about affiliation.
If we have one, if you don't, it's fine.
Okay, well, I'm just a resident of the town, and got the notice about this. For one thing, I did try to access the maps and try to figure out what was going on with the maps. And I actually worked for the company that developed the software that made your maps, and I couldn't make sense of your maps. I couldn't figure out how to get the layers to come up right and see where if we did or didn't fall within these pilot zones. The other thing I'm questioning is, why are we prioritizing low income and social justice communities? I mean, the social justice, I'm kind of wondering where that enters in altogether. And the other thing is that low income communities are the least likely to be able to afford to electrify. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm a retiree on a fixed income, and shutting off the gas to my house means shutting off, having to change out my furnace, my water heater, my dryer, my stove. I have a whole house generator that runs on natural gas. That would no longer work. I just can't understand where this is going. And I don't even know if I'm part of this or not. I couldn't make sense of the map. Can you answer that for me?
So as we mentioned, we're not going to be taking questions and answers where we're going to be going back and forth. We are collecting your input. We have a lot of SoCalGas people that are listening to those comments, and we will be sure to address that. Throughout the presentation and the Q&A session, we are going to be posting things on the Q&A section of this webinar. So you should be able to see some things in there that might address some of the concerns that you raised.
Okay, yeah, I mean, there's no indication as far as, you know, I mean, you put this out to us to make us concerned and freak out as to what we're supposed to have to do if you guys decide to not renew our gas lines. But now you're coming at us with like, well, we're just taking your comments and not answering our questions. So I'm kind of wondering what use this whole thing was about.
Well, thank you for your comment. Again, we are going to look in the Q&A. We do have staff that are posting things related to the comments, if possible, to answer some of those things or address them. But again, thank you for your comment.
Maybe just to add a couple of things. So with regard to the map access, if you reach out to us via email, we can try and provide some more insight onto how to access the maps, because it did seem like maybe there was some common interest in challenges there. The other thing is, if there are not priority neighborhood decarbonization zones designated in your neighborhood, they won't appear on those maps. And based on the information that was presented before and what we understand from what the commission has designated so far, there are only zones designated in Los Angeles and Santa Barbara counties. So Hemet is not currently designated as a zone. So that might be why you didn't see your neighborhood on those maps, just to help with that. And again, we share your questions on exactly how consent and notification will occur, and we hope that we'll have more detail to share on that when the program is established later this year.
Thank you so much. All right, the next person that I have who's raised their hand is showing up on my screen is Ratepayer Catherine. So Ratepayer Catherine, if you can unmute yourself, you should be able to speak. If you can unmute yourself, we've unmuted you. So again, if you're waiting in the queue and you're planning to speak, you can unmute yourself now. And then that way, when we do it on our end, it's already clear. And it looks like you figured it out, Catherine.
Yes.
So go.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you. And unfortunately, it wasn't doing it when I was waiting, but that's not here nor there. Yes, I'm just a concerned ratepayer. I got the email that in my neighborhood, you're planning to possibly, decommission my gas line.
Can you I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you just state your name and the neighborhood or city you're affiliated with?
Yes, Catherine, and I'm from the city of Whittier.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes. So I've been a ratepayer for, over 40 years. I love my gas. I love cooking with gas. My first apartment had a stove that was electric and I absolutely hated it. It was the reason I moved. I got out of that apartment just because of the stove. I know that sounds silly, but, being a mother, I cook a lot and I don't want to cook with electric stove. Again, all of my appliances would have to be, transferred to electrification. We're in an affordability crisis already. A lot of people on my street, they don't meet low income requirements. They are homeowners, they are retirees living on a fixed income, but because, they retired maybe from, better employers, they don't fall into the low income arena. So, I have aging parents on my street, down the street from me. So I would, again, it would be extremely difficult for us to afford this. And I just don't think it's right. Again, we pay into the system. And when you sign up for gas, it's kind of a mutual agreement. I pay you and you provide the service. So again, I understand California's push for zero emissions. However, I just don't believe that this is a smart move nor an affordable move on your ratepayers. And I thank you for taking my comment. But again, our elderly are going to be very impacted, and so too will our middle class families. So I would really highly, recommend that you guys or the CPUC takes a second look at this, because this is going to be very detrimental to so many Californians. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, the next person I see is, again, on my end, it's listed as anonymous too. So if you know that that's you, we enable your mic and then you can unmute yourself. Please go ahead. Looks like they actually dropped off. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next person. Next person is Guillermo Bentacourt. Guillermo. Mute yourself, you should be able to speak. All right, we're going to keep going. If you have trouble, you can always call back and raise your hand again, and we'll put you back in the queue. Kent Thomas. We've unmuted you. You should be able to. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Kent Thomas, and I'm a resident, a retiree in South Central Los Angeles, Vermont Knolls area, just a resident. And I think that this program is insidious, to say the least. It sounds like good intentions, trying to help us in our low-income communities, but this cost on us is really just benefiting everybody but us. It's going to force the sale of some people's homes if this goes throughout our communities. And if you really want to know where to put these pilot programs, it would be in more affluent communities where they can absorb the cost of this without losing their homes. And that's how I feel about it. And so I don't see any equity in this for people in my community. It just benefits the electric company and the gas company. The electric company gets a monopoly in our neighborhoods, and we're paying at higher rates. And the gas company gets to abandon infrastructure that it doesn't want to repair and continues to serve the affluent neighborhoods where they get cheaper access to energy. They have two sources of energy. We'll just have one. It's so unfair. And that's my comment. Thank you. You can cut me off.
Thank you, Kent. All right, the next person is Robin McIntosh. Robin, you should be able to unmute yourself. Okay, going once. Going twice. Robin, can you do it? All right, we're going to move to the next person. The next person I have is, I only have one first name. It's Craig. Craig, if that's you, you can unmute yourself. Craig. All right, we're going to keep going. The next person, again, if you wait a second until we unmute you, then you should be able to unmute yourself. Steve Chung.
Hello, can you hear me?
Ken.
Great. My name is Steve Chung. I'm a resident of Anaheim, Orange County, and I fully support the consideration of the gas company help out with the climate, and always also for the pipelines that are getting old and dangerous. And I'm also in a consulting company that work on geothermal, and we have many cases. We visit locations in the back east, Massachusetts, New York, and Florida, and so on. That their gas company have been working options to replace natural gas with geothermal, which is just, in California, we are nice that we don't drill too deep, and then we have heat to generate. And hopefully a lot of people are open-minded. And I want to see if there are locations in Orange County, but we also work in Orange County, LA County. And hopefully the commission will consider using a local company who have knowledge about converting gas lines to geothermal, where we are just pumping hot water instead of, we can also do cooling. The new technology, we can use the same system for heating and cooling the houses, and also drying clothes and so on like that. So I'm fully support. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next person is Cecil Howell. Cecil, we are unmuting you, and now you should be able to unmute yourself. Cecil, give it one more try. You're unmuted
Hello?
on our side. Yep, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. Yes, hi, good afternoon. I am a resident of, my name is Cecil Howell. I'm a resident of Chino in the Chino Valley. First, I could not also properly see the maps. I don't believe that my community is here, included in this plan. I represent the College Park community here, which is approximately 850 homes. When I got this notification, we had a meeting. And so I'm a former board member here, a former founding board member, as well as I run the Facebook community here, which is over 11 years old. And we have roughly 95% of our community online here. And so we had a meeting and we discussed this, and nobody knows where this whole idea of electrification came from. The vast majority, to the tune of 98% of us, have no interest in having this being foisted upon us. We don't want our gas lines removed. Nobody is opposed to the option of it, but no one wants to be forced to do this. And this is the way it seems things are being orchestrated. And so I want to state clearly that this community does not want to be forced to have our gas lines removed, and we do not want to be forced into electrification.
All right, thank you, Cecil, for your comment. All right, the next person we have is actually a phone number. It's not somebody calling on their cell, it looks like. So I'm just going to read off the last 4 digits of your cell. If that's you, then we're going to unmute you, and then you should be able to unmute yourself. So the last 4 digits are 8720.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, my name is Deborah Cosleon. I live in Avocado Heights. I want to state, first of all, the websites don't work very well. I couldn't submit a claim no matter what browser I used. I have a team to be able to connect, and it wouldn't let me, so I had to call in, which was disappointing because I can't see everything. But I agree with the callers here in Avocado Heights. Technically, it is a low income, low educational area. And the problem with that is, as I took the information sheet that I printed out and passed it around to people, they couldn't understand it. They didn't know what it meant, so they're just ignoring the response. I am a senior on a retired fixed income, and as we discussed even adapting our budget, there's no way we can afford this situation. The electrical bill is already over the amount that we can afford, and on our utility electrical bill, we're one of the lowest in our areas. We don't even have air conditioning. Our gas line, we don't use it. We wrap up. We cannot afford this. And I know just in my immediate street, let alone in the surrounding blocks I have gone to on my own, they're struggling to even feed their families. This has been forced upon us. And the flyers that have been sent out have not been put on layman's terms. I've tried to call CPU, I've called the gas company. All of a sudden, everybody doesn't know anything about it except the flyer. I think if it's going to be done, which we're all against, it should be written where we, as the lay person in the community, can understand. It should be done on more Zoom facilities than this team that half the people don't have. It's just not being explained because it's already confidently, I can say, has been determined to implement it. We ourselves would have to replace all our appliances, our furnace that we shut off from using because we can't afford to pay that bill. We just get little heaters or we wrap up. Everything would have to be replaced. I know it said at the beginning here that they would give us a good rate, but who determines that good rate? Even when we had to replace our pipelines to copper, even
wrap
that
up.
discount rate. So
Yeah.
yes, so
You
I
can't see
just
the
want to
timer,
say
but your
thank
time
you.
was up. Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening to me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you calling. The next person who is called by their phone, the last 4 digits is 0993. 0993. If that's you, we've unmuted you. Just push *6 and we should be able to hear you. Give you a moment to do that. 0993. If that's you. Did you hang up? They might have hung up. Okay. We're going to go to the next one. The next
No,
one.
I'm here. Hello. Oh,
Great,
no.
great.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm
Patience
here.
is
Can you hear me?
virtue. We can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay. I apologize. My name
No
is
worries.
George. My name is George and I live in Santa Barbara, California. A couple things. I'm adamantly opposed to this. I don't understand how the state of California thinks that taking one of our 2 energy sources away from us is a good thing. I just spent my life savings in 3 years remodeling my house and putting all gas appliances, water heaters, gas stoves in because it's a lot cheaper and more efficient than electricity. And it seems to me that if you were to do this, that people inside the zone that they want to decarbonize, it will hurt their property values, and homes that are outside the zone will increase their property values, because I think universally everybody wants at least 2 sources of energy, and especially gas. So those are my main things. It says it's voluntary, and I'm not volunteering to do it. And I don't see how DEI plays into this, as I thought that DEI was determined to be illegal anyway. And I thought there was a lawsuit out of San Francisco a couple of years ago when they tried to take people's gas stoves away from them, that the courts ruled against. So that's all I have, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, the next person we have, I only have the first name, it's Penny. Penny, we are unmuting you now, and you should be able to unmute yourself after that and speak. Seems like it's taking just a second, so we're going to give you guys a little bit of time to unmute yourself after we do it. Patient here. Hopefully you can do it. If not, we're going to move on. Okay, well, let's go to the next one. The next speaker we have is Steve. Again, I only have one name showing up. So Steve, we're unmuted you now, and you should be able to unmute yourself. We can hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
You can.
Okay, there we are. Okay, hi, my name is Steve. I'm a homeowner in the San Fernando Valley area. Echoing some of the same concerns that the total cost of transitioning equipment, so typical home that's on gas, stove, heater, possibly a pool and a hot tub, HVAC system, right? If the city is going to force a homeowner to swap out all of those, it should actually pay the cost of the new equipment to go in. Additionally, it's not just the cost of equipment because it isn't a quick transition to electric. You actually are looking at homes that are 70 years or older. Their own mini electrical wiring is not set up to have everything converted over to these other devices. You would actually probably overload the mini electrical grids in the homes. That means redoing wiring, redoing, circuit boards, etc., all of which could have additional costs, additional permitting issues, and be quite a project of great expense to a homeowner. So you all, if you're going to be requiring this of homes, regardless of social income level or value of the home, it should be the ones you paying for the equipment and the process to convert. You're already asking homeowners in other areas to pay dramatically increased costs for fire insurance. You're increasing our sewage costs, our electric costs, in part to pay for replacement of equipment from fire damage for other communities. So the entire cost of living as a homeowner is getting kind of intense. Additionally, if your goal is kind of to be, conservation or reducing the carbon footprint, look at the fact that you would have to build new power plants and the like to make all these electrical things go. I know I'm out of my time. I would suggest listeners to the call use ChatGPT, have it evaluate the entire SPC, the law. You can actually have it read it and tell you the issues. I think the state should be focused on improving getting more gas into our system than otherwise. I'll stop there. I'm at my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, our next speaker is Morgan. Morgan, we are unmuting you on our side. If you give us a second, then you should be able to unmute yourself and speak.
Hello, how are
Hello,
you?
Morgan.
Can you hear me? Thank you so much. Yes, so my name is Morgan Werledge. I'm a resident of Altadena, and I am a member of the Altadena Town Council, although I'm speaking to you today just as a resident. But my the reason why I would like to speak to you is because I believe that Altadena presents a unique opportunity to explore decarbonization. And I am unclear as to whether we are or are not included in those priority zones. Um, it is not, from what I understand, a disadvantaged community, although I don't think that takes into account the recent wildfires. I myself, like 6,000 other residents, are rebuilding our homes in Altadena. And while the fires were incredibly tragic for my family and many others, it presents an opportunity where, um, you know, these types of decarbonization zones can be explored. And that includes in our recovering commercial districts as well, where there might be opportunity to put thermal energy networks and decommission some of the gas lines without necessarily having to disrupt residential gas service. Um, so I would like, if possible, to encourage the CPUC and SoCalGas to take a look at our area to determine if it might be a viable contender for exploration of a decarbonization zone. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Morgan. All right, the next speaker is on a phone, and the last four digits I see are 3784. 3784. We're going to unmute you, and then you need to push *6.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Myers, and I'm in the city of Los Angeles, but in Canoga Park, actually. I understand the reason that everybody's looking at decarbonization, making, all the electrical cars and trying to make our environment clean. But it's called natural gas for a reason because, excuse me if I sound naive, but doesn't natural gas mean clean? It is clean. I am a divorcee of over 30 years. I have a special needs adult son, and to change over to electricity is ridiculous. First of all, as a senior, if you have an electric stove, a lot of times you can't even see that it's on, and I don't need my son to burn himself. Second of all, last year, if I recall, during summer, Governor Newsom actually came out and told people not to charge their cars anymore because our grids couldn't handle it. So with everybody else, this is ridiculous. Unless somebody wants to pay for my electricity, which is extremely high and going up every year based on their contract that they had with LA and whoever, the state, that they were allowed to raise the rate so much percent every, up to 5 years or whatever it was. So who's going to help those that are low income or disabled or homeowners? This is the most ridiculous way of trying to clean our air when there's bigger companies, smokers. I mean, it's off the charts. And I, for one, will not volunteer this. I live in a mobile home park, so it's a small area, and there are seniors here. It's a senior park. No, I'm sorry. Unless someone wants to keep paying for my bills, I'm not volunteering for this. And our grid cannot handle this. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. You ended right at 2 minutes. That's amazing. You were on the phone, so you didn't see that. Our next speaker is Andreas Kemkes. Andreas, we're going to unmute you, and then you should unmute yourself.
Hi, I wanted to speak. My name is Andreas Kemkes. I live in the Santa Monica area. My family owns one house in Santa Monica. I mean, I think there are undisputable benefits to electrification, and I wanted to talk a little bit about using hydrogen for home heating and cooling. It is less energy efficient than electrification would be, and it comes with various issues like possible emissions, brittleness of steel piping, and possibly related health issues. Instead of questionable hydrogen delivery projects, pilot projects like these ones, low and middle income homeowners should get ample support for electrification, and we should make every effort to bring electricity rates down. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Thank you, Andreas. Our next speaker is Scott Lynn. We are going to enable your mic.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Cool. Okay, thank you. My name is Scott Lynn. I'm a resident of Ventura County. I come with a background, both undergraduate and graduate degrees in environmental studies and solar energy, have worked as an engineer in the alternative energy and energy efficiency worlds back to the 80s. Currently, though, I work in critical infrastructure security and can state as a fact that a single energy source, in other words, electricity only, renders the United States vulnerable to outages from both grid failures and foreign hackers. One specific threat is China, which through their Volt Typhoon program has already been documented, and you can look this up easily, as infiltrating our electric grid as a method of asymmetric warfare, as Russia has done in Ukraine. Locking the U.S. into, or Southern California neighbors, only electricity, especially if the grid fails, is going to lead to health and safety issues on an unprecedented scale. It candidly just scares the pants off me. Separately, from a policy perspective, I know, as many have said, natural gas is not thermally as efficient as electricity, but it's virtually always less costly to operate. And that is going to affect people with their utility bills. So as someone who's now a retiree, I would strongly encourage the company and the PUC to maintain our existing infrastructure. Thank you.
Scott? All right, our next speaker is Raymond Chu. You enabled your mic, you should be able to do it the same on your side. Second.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Raymond Chow. I'm calling in from Irvine. I just had needed some clarity on whether these boundaries are set, if there's any possibility that it may expand in the future or near future, and whether this will sweep all property types in a given zone, whether property owners may qualify for any additional assistance besides appliance switchovers, electrification upgrades. Needed some clarity on whether Edison may be working in conjunction with this electrical load, as a few callers before me also mentioned and expressed concern for. And lastly, where I can possibly get or expect the answers to some of these questions that have been posed today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is a telephone, and I have the last four digits as 7430. 7430. You're unmuting you, and you should be able to push *6.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. My name is Michelle Villegas, and I live in San Dimas, which is in LA County. I've been listening to all these people speak, and I really feel that most of them have valid reasons for not wanting this to occur, and I tend to agree with them. Of course, I feel that, you know, we do need to look at our environment and do everything possible to decrease the toxins in the air. However, I too, my husband and I are retired, we're on fixed incomes, and we simply could not afford to convert everything in our house to electricity. I'm wondering why the gas company is not looking at renewable gas instead of just removing all of the gas lines and causing problems for people who can't afford to change. Has this been looked at? I don't know if it has been looked at or not. So that would be my feeling. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle. All right, we're going to go a little bit out of order. I see a couple of people that we tried earlier that have gotten back in the queue. We want to respect that. So we're going to go to Peg Hardiman. I think you were our very first caller. We're enabling your microphone, and you should be able to do the same. So your mic is enabled, Peg, on our side. Have to enable it on your side.
Gosh, I think I got it. Can you hear me?
You got it. We're so
Thank you.
excited. I'm very excited. I hate when we can't connect with people, so thank you.
I know, thank you. You know, like so many others are expressing, my concern is what happens to people in homes that are affected by this, who can't afford to upgrade the necessary and really costly electrical upgrades and then appliances. While it could possibly make sense to implement this as a requirement of all electric on new construction, and even possible conversion requirement on the sale of homes, existing homeowners, most of us are not going to be able to afford the costly necessary upgrades. This is absolutely the case for us. We're disabled seniors on a fixed income. There is no amount of financial assistance that you could offer beyond coverage of the full cost that would make this affordable for us. This will absolutely cause harm to low-income families, to seniors and disabled, who would run the risk of no longer having heat and cooking sources in their home and potentially being prosecuted for impeding progress. I say that I am in San Bernardino County, but until recently, we lived in Altadena. And when Edison came through to underground utilities, they did not inspect the older homes, or they were not going to inspect the older homes in the beginning. And we're going to prosecute people that couldn't upgrade to match it. Additionally, what we would save on the gas cost would be a fraction of the increased electrical cost. Our electrical grid can't handle the load right now. And Edison has far too many public safety shutoffs, especially in wind conditions where gas becomes the only source for hot water heating and cooking during those times.
All right, time. Peg, would you mind giving us the city or neighborhood that you're associated with? I heard you say San Bernardino County, but is there a way
Yeah.
to be?
I'm in Highland in San Bernardino County.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your persistence and patience with us. We appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to go out of order again. And another person who called earlier was Guillermo Bentacourt. Guillermo, we've made your mic enabled. If you could do the same on your side, and we'll be patient to give you a chance to do that. Should be able to just click on that mic and enable it, turn it on, and we should be able to hear you, Guillermo. Couple more seconds. While Guillermo's trying to unmute himself, just a couple more thoughts. If you cannot make your comment because there's technical difficulties, we still would encourage you to go to the websites that are in the Q&A and you can provide a written comment. They all are equal. Obviously, we'd love to hear from you verbally, but if there's something that's preventing that, we want to make sure you still have the opportunity to make a comment. All right, we're going to go back now to the order that I see the hands raised, and the next person is Alvin and Cheryl. Alvin and Cheryl, we are making your mic enabled, and you should be able to do the same on your side. Alvin and Cheryl, can you unmute yourself? Turn your microphone on. We've enabled your microphone. All right, we're going to keep going. Teresa Colmack. Teresa Colmack. Teresa, are you able to turn your microphone on? All right, we're going to keep going. Logan Babcock. Your mic is enabled. You should be able to turn your, yep, I can see you did it.
Hi there. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. I'm Logan Babcock. I'm a resident of Santa Barbara in one of the areas that is a proposed pilot zone for this project. I wanted to record that I support Santa Barbara zones being included, as well as the zones in Goleta. Our area is secluded from utility lines generally. We're pretty isolated, especially in cases of PSPS events. My comment is mostly regarding how SoCalGas is planning on getting consent from the 67% of folks required for these projects to move forward. Are you planning on talking to just property owners or renters, as our area is really high in renters? And as a renter myself, I would like to see SoCalGas communicating with the renter population and providing in-depth info on how the transition would go. Specifically, I'd like to see outreach prioritizing how SoCalGas is supporting residents in the transition, especially since a lot of the comments today are around affordability and the unknown of having to fund the transition to electric ourselves. So along those lines, also how SoCalGas would work with our various electricity suppliers to remove the burden of electrification, since this program is non-elective, and information on how and would people have to replace their own appliances. I work in this field of electrification and can attest that building electric and replacing gas is super achievable and incentivized, actually, especially in the Santa Barbara area. But there would need to be financial and installation support to ensure that these programs are successful. I'm hearing a lot of concern around footing the bill ourselves, and I would like to see SoCalGas move forward with that in mind and ensure these programs are set up for success in that way. Electrifying at the neighborhood level with proper backups, especially in our area, is essential and going to be a really big piece of mitigating climate change and protecting the health of our communities moving forward. So thank you for that. That's my comment.
Thank you, Logan, very much. And it looks like Nate has joined us and maybe is going to be providing some information about some of the things we've been hearing.
Yeah, thanks, Chester. And thank you all for your comments so far. This has been so helpful, and we really appreciate you taking the time and providing these thoughtful comments. I did want to just address a few themes that have come up so far in our time together. The first one is I just want to make sure everyone knows, we're not trying to be evasive here at all by not addressing questions. And I apologize that we don't have very clear answers to some of the very good questions that are coming up in this comment section here. The items around how funding is going to be shared between SoCalGas, other programs, participating customers, or et cetera, has yet to be determined. That will become more clear when the program is established in July. So I apologize we don't have answers today, but I think the feedback that you all are providing is very valuable, and it will be shared with the CPUC through the recording of this information session and through our summary. And the CPUC will be taking that into consideration as they establish that policy moving into July. So thank you very much for continuing to provide that feedback. Additionally, that same thing applies for how consent and notification will occur. I do understand there is some question around who exactly will be engaged and how, whether it's property owners, tenants, customers. That policy is yet to be set. So again, we appreciate your feedback today. We will be sharing it with the commission, and we apologize that we don't have clear answers yet, but those will be coming later this year. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is we are intending to discuss these priority neighborhood decarbonization zones. So those eligibility areas. The commission has dedicated to revising the PNDZs by the end of this year. So any of the feedback that we're receiving along the way today, as far as where those zones should or should not be designated based on this public comment, that will be shared with the CPUC as well to inform that future designation and any other subsequent revisions of those decarbonization zones. But thank you all again for your time today, and we really value this feedback.
Yeah, thank you, Nate, for jumping in. All right, our next speaker is Carmen Vargas. Carmen, we are enabling your microphone.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you great. Thank you for...
Great, okay. I had time to write something, so I'm just gonna read it.
Start with your name and city, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Carmen Vargas, and I live in the city of LA in the MacArthur Park area. I am in full support of clean energy and reducing our carbon footprint in California. but I do not support electrification in existing construction because of cost. I can see some of the new developments and communities with new construction and infrastructure may choose to be test sites to make a big impact in reducing our carbon footprint. I feel the CPUC can explore public transit instead of an energy source like SoCalGas. To make a meaningful impact on reducing our carbon footprint, the California Public Utilities, CPUC, could also explore the investments in public transit, particularly in dense, low-income communities. Expanding and improving public transit would reduce vehicle emissions, lower transportation costs for residents, and provide environmental benefits at a larger scale. Additionally, I want to note that SoCalGas currently provides one of the lowest cost energy sources and has delivered the best service I have personally experienced from an energy company. As policies evolve, it is important to consider both affordability and reliability for California residents. Thank you for the opportunity to provide public comment and for considering the perspective of ratepayers and community members as you evaluate future energy policies.
Thank you so much, Carmen. Appreciate that. The next speaker is Robin McIntosh. Robin? If your mic is enabled, you should be able to turn your microphone on your side and we should be able to hear you. Wait one more second. Robin, if you can. Okay, let's go back to Cheryl Z. Cheryl Z, if you could unmute yourself, we should be able to hear you.
Yes, hi. My name is Cheryl. I live in Orange County in Rancho Santa Margarita. I checked the map and it was, like others have said, that it was not very clear on the pilot program. And I was concerned that you just mentioned, or somebody mentioned, that they're going to be changing that and it will be revised until December of this year. I am very opposed to the moving into the electricity because I'm paying so low for gas. It's about $30. And for electricity, I've reduced my electricity since last year for about 25%. And I'm actually paying 15 or 20% more. And it's just incredible. I used to live on the East Coast. And when we came here, we were just floored because of all the utility costs that we had to pay. And on top of that, you know, we just cannot afford to replace all of our appliances as a homeowner. We would never qualify for any of the government sponsored additional, you know, for any additional costs. And I think you really are, it looks like you're giving us an option, but it's actually, you're giving us no option. What happens after the pilot? I'm very concerned because right now my area is not on the map where you're doing the pilot, but eventually, when does the pilot end? And after you've finished all of your pilots, will it be rolled out regardless of what the public says to you? I'm very concerned because it is very, it is not transparent at all what your end goal is and how it will really affect our lives. I'm totally opposed to this. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Cheryl. All right, our next speaker is Jasmine Kim. Jasmine, should be able to unmute yourself on your side.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, hey, thank you. Sorry.
I wanted to give you my comment as a planning manager
I'm
for the city
sorry,
of.
Jasmine, could you just state the city that you're with?
Yeah, I was just going to say that city of South Pasadena. I am the planning manager for the city of South Pasadena, and I am here to provide comments from the city in regards to the implementation of SB 1221 and decarbonization zones. The city, first of all, needs clarity on how decarbonization zones will be selected. And I understand that you will be selecting it in the future, but we need a bit more clarity on how that selection process will work and what kind of local knowledge or energy usage, building types, and community needs you may need from city side and other municipalities as well. And secondly, I just wanted to make sure that we're ensuring equitable access to zero emission alternative that is critical. I feel like apart from gas infrastructure, there's other alternatives, and those are it's all important to have those options available for our residents, right? Some in our city, we have a lot of historic homes. So there's a lot of residents that qualify as a low income, but there's a lot of infrastructure that are old and outdated at the same time that we need to upgrade and try to figure out how that upgrading will work. But as you know, I'm happy to see that CPUC is kind of looking to make progress, but at the same time, I think we have to be very, very cautious on how we approach this because there are significant implications for city planning, permitting, building codes, and coordination with public utilities. This is not, just something that we could just do it in a blanket fashion. It's something that has to retrofit the existing structures and it has to be carefully constructed. It can't be just without discussion. So we do want that coordination between SoCalGas, CPUC, the city, and I hope, CPUC would carefully test the pilot projects to ensure that they can be implemented safely and feasibly considering, electrical capacity, heating, cooling needs, compliance with building codes and
wrap up
potential
your comment.
disruptions to residents and city operations. And, lastly, I just wanted to let you know that in the hillsides or areas that may be affected by critical severe weather events, such as extreme snow or rain, those areas, electricity isn't really always guaranteed. So I think it's something to note that we need to be very careful about removing gas lines from those areas.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. We appreciate it. All right, our next speaker is Miguel Figueroa. Miguel. Mic is enabled. You should be able to turn your side on. Miguel. Give you a second, a couple more seconds here. All right, we're going to move to the next one. Ken, I don't have a last name, but I see your name. If you could. Cell phone, we should be able to hear you speak. All right. We're going to go to the next one, Teresa Sturdivant. Teresa.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you. My name is Teresa and I'm from Santa Clarita. I'm surprised I haven't heard anybody from that area. I am absolutely against this. I have experience with the electric utility, and I do not believe that any of the electrical utilities in California can sustain having this amount of electricity use. And the cost of all the gas conversions would be astronomical and so detrimental to homeowners that I'm actually very surprised they didn't start with new builds, which how hard would that be to start off with them with electricity if that was actually your goal? Even with the electric cars, we've had outages. It's completely unreliable. The electricity is completely unreliable. It's not feasible. It's never a good idea to have only one utility that runs your house. So, that's basically my opinion.
Thank you, Teresa, for your comment. So just a little reminder, for those who might not be familiar with MS Teams, the unmute is the picture of a mic on top at the right of Teams. It's not next to your name. So maybe some people might be confusing that, but again, it's the unmute function is the picture of a mic on the top right of Teams, and it's not next to your name, okay? So the way this works is I call your name, we enable your microphone on our side, and then you just click on that button. We should be able to hear you. All right, the next person I have, I'm going to go a little bit out of order again, is someone that called earlier, Anonymous 2. So Anonymous 2. Enable. Anonymous 2. Right. The next person I have is Myrna. I don't have a last name, but I just have a first name, Myrna.
Hello, you can hear me?
Oh, we can hear you, yes.
Okay, my name is Mirna Cortez. I'm from Visalia. I realize my area is not impacted, but I am pretty upset about this. Starting off with obviously the cost to decarbonize your home, especially when you're a middle class homeowner. And I know I hear all these people saying that they want, oh, how are we supposed to pay for these, or especially if you're like low income. But again, we don't want no government subsidies. That just means more taxes on the people. So we're still paying for it, just in a roundabout way. Not to mention, could this be because Gavin Newsom, his campaign was funded by PG&E, his wife's nonprofit funded by PG&E? This is just a money grab. For those of us like myself that we have solar panels, we're already facing possible taxing because we have solar panels. At first, you were getting a government credit when you filed federal credit for filing taxes and having solar panels. Now you're getting punished. This is a bunch of crap. Just like you have a electric car and they're trying to tax those people per mile, because now it's all of us getting taxed per mile, not just electric vehicles. And this is the same thing. Right now, you guys say it's optional. We all know it's not optional. Right now, it's optional before it's mandated upon all of us. Enough is enough. Californians are sick of this. Why do you think everybody keeps moving out of this state? I live in the Central Valley. One size is not, it's not a one size fits all. And you guys are trying to do that with us. This should be optional. For those people that commented that they were for electrification, they must not have electric bills. In the Central Valley, your bill can be $800 if you have a pool and a decent normal size home, 1,500 square feet to 1,900 square feet. This is absolutely ridiculous. So you're telling me that I can't use my hot tub anymore because I will not pay to decarbonize my home. I will sell my home and move out of the state before I do that. And I'm sure many people feel that way. If you see all the hand clapping, all the hearts, we are so angry. I'm done.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is a phone number, and the last four digits are 8720. 8720. Please push *6 and we should be able to hear you.
Hello, I called a minute ago, but I forgot to ask this since I couldn't log into the website to see the maps, even with instructions. One, is Avocado Heights in the pilot program? And two, even though I'm totally opposed for every reason everybody said here and they articulated so correctly, I'd like to know if it's such a great plan and the pilot program people could get help with paying for this and to promote it among the rest, then why doesn't the state pay for every part of it for the pilot people, every ounce, anything that's incurring in the bill, and then others outside of the pilot program might be more interested in volunteering for it and pay for partial or discounts if it's that good of zero emission and clean air. So it doesn't have to be answered, but I just want to know if Avocado Heights is in that pilot program.
All right, thank you for your comment and question. Again, we are populating some information in the Q&A. I'm not sure that we're able to address every single question at this moment, but we're doing our best to post information there that's useful to hear people make comments. All right, our next speaker is Phoebe Manser.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Phoebe.
Hello, my name is Phoebe Manser. I am in Santa Barbara. Hello, George. I live in a senior mobile home park, and we did not receive any notification regarding this. The notification for seniors mobile home parks go to the property owners, which are not the residents. I only know about this because I have another home in Orange County. So some of my thoughts are, I want to reiterate what some of the other people spoke. I'm just pulling up my notes. Many seniors don't have technical skills. They're not going to be able to access the information, especially if it's digital. Low-income communities like mine are on limited income, and even if the government did provide replacement equipment for all the residents, it still doesn't mean that they're going to be able to afford the increased cost of the new utilities at the higher electric rate. And that would create additional ongoing financial stress for these low-income communities. And then we also have to consider that there is existing stress on the electric grid, and it seems to me that it's lacking in wisdom to compel communities to accept being on all electric utilities for a variety of reasons that many people have commented on. And I just think that it's short-sighted thinking, and planners should plan for the worst and hope for the best. But what we've been shown here with the pilot program is just the opposite. It's planning for the worst. It's planning, it's just wrong. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to make a comment, Phoebe. The next person I have is Brianna and Kona.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Brianna. I am representing Garden Grove / Stanton area. I'm with Community Action Partnership of Orange County. Firstly, we want to say that we are in support to continue to improve our environment through these sorts of decarbonization projects. However, there is quite a bit of problems with the way that this pilot has been proposed and the lack of transparency amongst the ways that this pilot will go. Firstly, As many people have noted, electrification is a huge burden on those who are already energy burdened, particularly low-income communities. The average homeowner, much less the average low-income homeowner, does not have the available funding or to be able to afford things like electrical panel upgrades, as well as Southern California does not have the infrastructure to, again, overload and afford this electrical upgrades on the substation level as well as the electrical grid level. If there is a move to continue to electrify, the CPUC as well as all the IOUs need to work together to make an equitable plan that will offset these costs from the actual people who will be receiving these electrical upgrades to reduce their energy burden as well as diversify its energy resources. SoCalGas, and I want to make a clarifying comment that somebody earlier mentioned that natural gas is clean. It is not. It is still a fossil fuel, and SoCalGas has made no effort to move towards renewable gas on a larger scale. So there needs to be diversity in the energy procurement sector, as well as hardening of the already existing California electrical grid to be able to support these sorts of projects on such a large scale. Thank you. I appreciate your time, and I hope that you consider these comments very deeply.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is a telephone number, and it ends with 3889. 3889. Please push *6.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay. Took me 2 times with a *6.
I love it.
My name is
Thank
Betty
you for
Robinson. I live in Tustin. And according to your according to your map, which was very difficult to navigate, I am in a designated area. But I wonder why my neighbor across the street is not. I do not want to be decarbonized. I do not want my electric bill to increase even more than it already is. I can't afford to replace my water heater, clothes dryer, barbecue grill, forced air heater. And as a matter of fact, I do have an electric stove, which I cannot stand, and I really want a gas stove. Plus, what are restaurants going to do? I don't think they do well with electric stoves. I will be very interested to see how you plan to contact residents to obtain their consent or refusal. Anecdotally, my sister lives in Hemet. She's also in a designated area. They have outages all the time. There have been 2 times where she's lost food from her refrigerator and freezer. And the only saving thing she had was that she has an electric stove. So she was able to heat food, and she even heated water for a bath. I would like to see the gas companies replace our aging pipelines rather than imposing this great financial burden on millions of people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dan R. Dan R. Dan, if you can hear us, click that picture of the mic on the top right of Teams. Just another second, if you can try. All right, we're going to move to the next one is Jason Wagner. Jason Wagner.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jason Wagner. I'm in the San Fernando Valley. I'd like to thank you for taking the opportunity to let us give comments, and to everyone else who's dialed in, taking their time to give comments. I'm just going to read something here I've put together. I don't support this. I have concerns about this plan to move away from natural gas towards full electrification. I think relying on a single source of energy creates unneeded risk. Having multiple energy sources adds resilience, and removing natural gas would make us far more dependent on the electrical grid. The problem is that our grid already struggles with demand. We regularly hear about strain during heat waves and peak usage periods, and adding the additional load from heating, cooking, and water heating across California would make that problem worse. In my area, power outages happen at least once a month. I receive text messages whenever they occur. When electricity goes out, everything stops working, and having access to natural gas provides an important layer of reliability during those situations. There are also real cost concerns for residents. Electricity prices in California have increased significantly over the past decade, more than 90%, and they continue to rise. Natural gas is still a much more affordable energy source for many households. Switching everything to electric would require many people to replace appliances, upgrade electrical panels and wiring, and make other costly changes to their homes. That can easily cost thousands of dollars for families already dealing with a very high cost of living. And finally, forcing people to throw away working gas appliances and just creates unnecessary waste and has its own environmental impacts. So thank you for taking my comment.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker I have is Jason Wagner. And let's go to Craig. Craig, I just have your first name. I don't have a last name.
Can you hear me, Chester?
And
excellent. Thanks for taking my call, if you will. Lots of good comments here from everybody. I think we all feel the same way. We actually just replaced our forced air units. We actually have two of them. I'm from Indio, California, so it gets quite hot out here, as you know. Anyway, we just replaced ours about 3 years ago. That would mean that we have brand new units that we'd have to toss. We are in the area of potential gas distribution pipeline replacement. So that'd be very frustrating to have brand new units, like the other gentleman said, just completely thrown away. The thing that I find confusing about this is I've been in a gas home since I was born, and we were always told that natural gas was a clean, viable source of energy, and now all of a sudden it isn't. Obviously, SB 1221 is Senate bill, and so the government's mandating this because they want to control more of our lives every day. And as a previous caller said, people are moving out of this state because it's just ridiculous to live here. The expense of living here, the restrictions, the demands on people that live here, our money. You can say we can government subsidize, but that money is our money. The government is the people. So that's where that money's coming from. So nothing's for free, as other people said as well. We had gas buses there for a while. So why all of a sudden is natural gas a dirty word? Really confusing. I think people in our government need to wake up and figure out that they are not going to solve all of our problems and their perceived problems, and we're not going to pay for it. Thank you very much, Chester.
yeah, thank you, Craig. Our next speaker is Ellen. Again, I only have one name, Ellen.
Can you hear me?
And
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello. So I just want to say that I'm against having all electric in California. And that I think that if they're going to do electric, they should consider new development of homes or businesses only if the infrastructure for it exists. I think it's going to I know it's going to adversely affect the costs. They're way too high to replace your electrical panel, your furnace, your gas appliances, including the water heater, is going to run into tens of thousands of dollars. And unless you're a very young person, people just don't have that kind of money squirreled away for this unexpected expenditure. It's not fair, it's not civil, and it's not right for people to have this pushed on them at such a late stage, particularly for the older homes. And I think that the older homes need to be exempt, at least the ones that are at least 50 years or older. And, and I'd like to know what happens to people who can't afford it, who literally can't afford it. Are they just going to live like they're impoverished or what? Because their health and well-being is jeopardized. So they could possibly die if they can't afford it, and that's not right. I also think it's going to be a hindrance to smaller companies because they potentially won't be able to handle the costs and they'll need to move out of California. So I'm totally against it. Thank you.
Ellen, could you mention what city you're from?
Oh, I'm sorry, Riverside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is Kylie DeLewis.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Kaylee DeLuise. I'm calling from the Athens Village, unincorporated LA neighborhood, / Willowbrook. Honestly, a lot of our neighbors are elderly and our concern is a lot of our homes are old. I don't know how many of my retired neighbors are going to be able to afford this, including myself. The conversion, we're going to have to convert, do the conversions. And then some of our homes are really old. So that means that we're going to have to redo all the electricity panels. So I just don't think it's fair for our neighborhood. I mean, I don't like it. I understand you guys are trying to do the clean thing, but the clean thing doesn't mean that it's the best thing for most of us. I don't know how the electric grid is going to handle it when it's super hot. They're already on top of us about electricity. So I don't know if you guys don't have a solution for that. I don't understand why we're moving towards that. There has to be, in order for you to move toward a cleaner solution, you guys should already have something in place. So I just don't think that this is feasible for most of our communities, just like all the people that I've heard. So yeah, and then I have a duplex. So you're talking about, my elderly parents live in front of my house. I don't know how I'm going to be able to afford double. For some of us that are small, like some of us that have 2 units, that's going to be super expensive for us. So I just don't think that our community wants to do it. And I think that you guys should do way more research as far as how you guys are going to handle the whole electric panel. And if the power goes out, what's going to happen to our elderly neighbors? I mean, that's another concern I have, or those of us that have kids. I mean, and then how long will the electricity be out for most of us? So I think that you guys have to really do more research as far as what's going to happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So this to do a little time check. It's 2:50. Our session goes till 3. We have a number of hands still raised. We're going to try to get through as many of those as we can. We'll go a little bit over, but we do need to be respectful of each other's time. So those who are still in the queue, if you could just make your comments as concise as possible, we'll just keep going through them. So our next speaker is listed as WRM. WRM. All right, we're going to keep going. The next speaker we have is Bella Stallworth. Again, hit that microphone at the top right of Teams. Yes,
can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I just think that this is all about, I'm Bella Stallworth in Yoruba Valley. I think this is all about electricity. Solar and hydrogen, geothermal is not happening. They're only looking at this for their reason. Electricity is always going out. There's fires each year from down wires. You can't cook or warm your house with just electricity. That's why I like gas, because you can keep from dying in a cold situation, because you can turn your stove on.
Thank you so much.
I'm not done putting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that's putting lives at risk. Now, the whole world knows about EMPs. They can attack us at any time. There's no help coming from our government for California. They are totally against us. We're on our own in California. We have to be careful with what we do and what we decide. Even if there are promises made, they're made to be broken. There will be no continued assistance, even if they promised to help you in some way. Someone's looking to pocket more money as far as I'm concerned. I don't like electric for many reasons. It's too costly and it's always going out. But it is also destroys your pots and pans, which are expensive as well. And I believe it's just to start a chaos and panic for the masses, which are the lower income people. There's not a whole lot of rich people, but if they could say, oh, they're for us. Most people are for us because we get scared. Fear drives bad decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sissel DeSoond. Sissel.
Can you hear me?
Can.
Yes, hi. I'm Sissel Dusen. I'm living in Lake Forest, Orange County, and I'm totally against this here. I just got the notification. I wasn't even sure what this was all about. But to replace, I just want to reiterate with what other people have said, the replacement of all utility, like all equipments that we have, and not only that, I don't see how we probably have to replace the lines into the house. In our area, I get information so often that the electricity is going up because of the high wind from the Santa Anas. Also, I don't know where you guys are going to get all the electricity from. And I just looked it up, and we have like 20-30% of the electricity that's being bought from other states. How are they creating the electricity? So we're buying and importing electricity as opposed to using gas that's already here. If you wanted enough electricity, you would have to have nuclear. And obviously we don't have that, and they're putting down the stuff up in the San Francisco area too. So I'm totally against this here. It's going to be huge expenses, and yeah, I don't know who came up with this thing, but it's definitely not something that we want to be part of.
Thank you, Sissel.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Flynn. Flynn. I only have the first name.
Hello.
Hello, Flynn.
Can you hear me?
You can.
Great. Thank you. My name is Flynn. I'm from Palm Desert. And I got to shout out to everybody who's commented so far. They're all so on point. They've hit so many of the most important economic and political points that I also agree with. 2019, I believe it was, I read out of the LA Times and from a lot of the other major metropolitan news outlets that California was, quote, sitting on top of a vast ocean of natural gas. I'm just curious to know if SoCalGas can confirm that today, and whether or not the ocean has been shrinking or whether or not it's still very much accessible to all of us. As being a homeowner and also being somebody who doesn't have a lot of money, I find it's kind of interesting how this whole plan is completely unequal. It's unequitable towards especially the target pilot program communities that it wants to start this with. I don't get that, but I also have my own sneaking suspicions about how California wants to seemingly drive out its longtime citizens to other states to make room for, well, I'll just leave that for everyone else to consider. But I want to thank you all for having this hearing today, and thank you.
Thank you for participating. Our next speaker is Reg D. Reg D. Reg D. Hit that microphone on the top right of Teams.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Excellent comments from everybody. And I just want to throw out my vote that I think this is a totally wrong decision that's being made on two fronts. I want to add my vote to CPU, see what everybody else is saying. This is totally the wrong direction for people to go. Electricity is not as clean as people think it is. It comes from the generation stations are not all hydroelectric. It comes from coal, comes from nuclear, and the state is not building more generating systems to work with all of the solar station and other electrical requirements as it is right now. Number two, I think that SoCalGas is not making the right decision in the neighborhoods that they're choosing for decarbonization zones. I think you should have chosen to start the pilot program with new communities, new construction. That would be the most logical thing to do, just like they did with solar implementation and requirements. And that this way you could really test and see what it would be like and what the cost would be, at least on that level when you're starting from scratch. Instead of starting with the poorer neighborhoods, especially people who live in apartment complexes with many units, where the owners of the apartment complexes would have to gut out all of the gas lines and implement new electric things and restaurants. It would just be totally exorbitant, and in the waste that's going to be made is going to totally offset the carbon footprint that you're saving by going to gas. Thank you all very much for your comments. I think you guys, I hope the CPUC listens to these comments, and thank you so much. Oh, my name is.
Yeah, what city were you from? I think we might have lost you, Reg. Maybe you could post that in the Q&A and we could pick that up. Okay, our next speaker I'm going to go to is Laura Akosea. Laura?
Sakachella. Laura Akachella.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm a homeowner in Costa Mesa in Orange County, and I fully oppose SB 1221. I think natural gas is already low emission. I don't think it's necessary to go to zero decarbonization to have clean air. Plus, the electric grid in California is overburdened, so adding more load to it is just foolishness. My forced air heating, water heating, clothes dryer, stove are all natural gas. My home also only has a 100-amp electrical panel, like most houses in this neighborhood, which means that I would have to upgrade the panel to handle all this new electrical load if I got all these new appliances. And my home was built in 1955. So the existing wiring doesn't meet the requirements of today's building code for electric. So to comply with SB 1221, I'd not only have to upgrade all of these appliances, but also get a new electrical panel. And that new electrical panel triggers another building code compliance issue where I would be required to upgrade all of the electric in the entire house. So I got to bust through every wall and change out the electric. I mean, this is ridiculous. To upgrade for this with the panel, the rewiring, all these, it would be like $100,000. Now, not eligible for low income, but I am retired and can't afford $100,000 of fixes on a fixed income. I'd have to sell my house and probably move out of California. And so I think you're going to be driving people out of California with these ridiculous rules. And I'm suspicious that this program may be a deliberate land grab for developers to buy up all the single family homes for a cheap price so then they can profit building higher density housing. I think you're just trying to get rid of us. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Laura. All right, it is time now. We have a handful of more comments. I'm going to take the ones that we haven't tried before to wrap things up, and then we're going to close our session. So the next speaker I have is Manuel Jimenez.
Hi there, can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to comment. So my name is Manuel Jimenez. I live in Visalia, California, which is in the Central Valley. One of the previous people talking today asked what was next after the pilot program. Everybody on the line, let's be clear. They're talking about decommissioning natural gas, which means natural gas services will be gone indefinitely. So let's make sure we understand that if this goes through. I want to voice my strong opposition to this decommissioning of natural gas. It's the most economical source of energy for a home. Everyone has said that today. Just about everyone has said that. Everybody understands that. If you consider that we've had a lot of new EVs on the road and we're building AI data centers these days, those are both proving to be very energy demanding activities for the current day. So our power grid has been said many times today. Our power grid can't support the demand that we have already. How many of us have seen signs on the highway during the summertime where they say, hey, conserve on energy. We don't want rolling blackouts. I mean, we already have an energy grid that just can't support the demand for today. Living in this area, my AC bills run close to $1,000 a month in the summer in the last number of years. So we've chosen to upgrade to solar. I've spent a tremendous amount of money to provide solar power for my home to make up for that $1,000 bill in the summertime. If this goes through, of course, I'm going to have to upgrade that solar system. I've already paid around $50,000 for that system. I'd have to pay an additional money to support that additional demand. So I would consider, hopefully the California Public Utilities Commission maybe seeks to go voluntary. Let's see if Californians want to voluntarily do this. How about we go take that approach, that they seek voluntary pilot areas. It's, in my opinion, the utilities have been gathering money from all of us. It should be their burden to upgrade the pipelines, not ours. They're shifting the burden to us because they don't want to replace the old pipelines. They should have to redo it. They should have to pay for those upgrades or replacements with the monies they've gathered. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the next speaker, Ariana Vito. Ariana? Moment, please click on that microphone at the top right of MS Teams. There we go. I see you.
Hi, can you hear me?
You can.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Ariana from City of Santa Monica. I just want to say, in general, support the intent of the pilot. Electrification is an important component of reducing carbon emissions, and our grid is definitely getting cleaner and cleaner. Many cities in Southern California, in SoCalGas territory, do receive 100% clean power from solar and wind through participation in the Clean Power Alliance and other CCAs. But I do want to underscore the importance of this program being adequately funded by the CPUC and SoCalGas, and for there to be clear information on how the program would be implemented and funded when that information is available after July. And more information on what that timeline would be like. Are we talking about a 2-year, 5-year, 10-year time horizon? There should be clear communication in terms of what the stakeholder engagement process would look like. And I think that, as many folks have mentioned, I think the consideration of the frequency of outages is really important to consider when selecting priority zones. So coordination with SCE would be a better place to start in terms of looking at where there's a more reliable grid. And then I'm interested in some of the other comments about who would be responsible for getting consent from participants. And as many callers have also shared, I don't think the cost of this should fall on the property owners. I am concerned about the 67% consent threshold. I think in order for the program to be successful, we need a full stakeholder buy-in. But I do want to just mention that, there are many benefits to electrification, and there is the potential to have a lower electric bill by replacing traditional AC units and standard furnaces with heat pumps because they are so much more efficient. But electricity prices going up and up do not guarantee that. So I think this program just needs to have really careful consideration of the cost burden that we're looking at. And the maps need to be more accessible and understandable, and the information on the website also needs to be more easily digestible, so that the goals of the program are clearer to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is a telephone ending in 5747. 5747. You could hit *6. You should be able to hear you. 5747.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Blake and I'm from Newport Beach. I am absolutely against this massive overreach. I have several reasons here. The lack of transparency and communication throughout this process. It was a miracle I became aware of this meeting. Teams does not work with any Apple iPhones or products, so that disenfranchises all of the Apple users. We citizens did not ask for or vote for this massive change in our entire lives and infrastructure. This plan is in compliance with a global agenda set by forces which do not have our best interests or local populations in mind. We pay the taxes and fees for this infrastructure and utilities, and we did not ask for this. We regularly have massive fires in the state caused by electrical lines, and we regularly blow transformers. Every summer we have blackouts and brownouts. When power goes out, all our refrigerators, computers, medical devices, people in hospitals, every time the power goes out, people die. Natural gas is one of the safest and cleanest for the people and environments and cheapest. Why would they want to remove this? Where are the health studies on all the unprecedented amount of electricity set to surround us? Dirty electricity is a real hazard and dangerous to our health. This is meant to be a push to push all of us out of California and buy our land cheap. I absolutely agree with that. In the 70s, there was gasoline rationing and government decided who got gas and when. This will be the same. Unelected bureaucrats will decide how many carbon credits each of us get, and they will decide for you what days you'll be able to power up your computer and when you won't. I'm not comfortable with a Black Mirror world where someone can shut down my whole life with the touch of a button. Everyone has discussed costs, so there's no reason for me to do that. But I will also bring back up that attack vulnerability. This is a real security and survival risk for both our national security and the survival risk for all of our health. If the people who are running this program should be ashamed of themselves, and they should quit their jobs in protest. In no way is this not an overreach. And for those who are wondering where this came from, because I've heard that comment several times here, go read the publicly available United Nations Agenda 2030 Goals for Sustainable Development. Sustainable is a code word for totalitarianism, and these people are the same people who brought the global lockdowns. These people do not have your best interests in mind. And for the younger people who are all cool with the sustainable, you need to do a little bit more research. You need to look into it a little bit more, and you need to ask yourself, if we're supposed to diversify our finances, why would we? This is it. Why would we not diversify our power needs? Why would we put all of our eggs in one basket?
All right, thank you so much. All right, we're going to take one more, and then we're going to close. I have Bianca Poindexter Page.
Me?
Bianca? Yep, we can
Can you
hear
hear
you.
me?
We
Oh,
can.
thank you for taking my comment. I am Bianca Poindexter Page. I am from the Santa Clarita Canyon Country area of California. I would like to say that both things can be true. I do agree in more reliable sources of clean energy, but I also think we should have coordination with Edison and other electrical providers to ensure anything before we do move forward with this initiative. Two things happened this year. There was a law that went into place requiring that all new pools built after 2026, January 2026 forward, require electrical heating. More than I think 60% of their sources have to be electrical, and that's already causing a lot of issues for builders because the electrical pumps heats for pools haven't really caught up with the growing demand. So we really need, so that's already an issue. So if we add that and combine to the fact that the net metering contracts aren't as favorable for solar, pushing more customers into electrical demand and requirements is going to create an initial burden that we may need to make sure we're coordinating all of that, like all the new laws across the board that are pushing people into electrical. And we do experience 9 to 10 outages in my neighborhood minimum per year. And it's only because I have a backup battery on solar due to medical needs that I'm able to keep going. I do have concerns for my neighbors that cannot do that. And it's not equitable if you can't afford solar. And even with solar, like some commented, where it's becoming less advantageous. Let's consider that to our environment. And let's also, I think, pushing it into, there's lots of new builds out here in our area. That would be a great place to start because then people can buy in the beginning versus having to switch over. So I do think they should look into that more. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so there is a few people that we just were not able to connect with, which we apologize. We wanted to hear from everyone. I do want to remind you, this event is being recorded and it will be posted publicly on SoCalGas's webpage within 5 days. A report will be developed summarizing the session, and public comments will also be summarized in a report to be filed on April 1st in the CPUC rulemaking 2409-012. And lastly, and most importantly, written public comments can be made to the docket of the CPUC rulemaking 2409-012. And that is in the Q&A of this session. If you want to grab that link, you can go there and make a written comment. I really want to take the time to thank everyone for taking time out of your day and spending a couple hours with us going over this important topic. We achieved exactly what we wanted to achieve, which is to get hundreds of comments. I think pretty close to that. In terms of what your opinions are and your comments and input, we've been taking notes and recording this. And so thank you for being thoughtful and concise and having good things to tell us. We want to appreciate your guys' availability, and we want to thank you for participating, and that concludes the session today. Thank you so much.